You know what? Old habits die hard. Today we're going to take a look at something that is iconic, and I mean truly iconic. The Nintendo Entertainment System. The Nintendo Entertainment System was released in Japan in 1983, and then eventually it came to the United States in 1985, and then eventually to the UK in 1987. This console holds so many good memories for me. It is basically a little grey box full of joy. That is how I think of it when I think of the Nintendo Entertainment System or the NES. It is pure joy in a little grey box. And to this day I still remember picking this up from Toys R Us. I remember going with my Christmas money, and instead of having the console and the games out on the shelf like you would see today, they had little paper slips that you took to the counter. So I picked up a paper slip for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I believe I picked up another slip for a plastic suitcase-like container that you could store all your games, your gun and the console in. And then I went home and the rest is history. Now, I'm not really a gaming channel, but I will give you a little bit of history on this console and what came before it. The console was released in 1983 in Japan, like I said before, and then eventually came to the US in 1985. Now, prior to this, in the USA, 2 years before, there was something that we now know as the video game crash, because the market was simply oversaturated with video game consoles and video games that, quite frankly, weren't that great. I mean, at the time they were revolutionary, but comparing it to a machine like this just blew them out of the water. So of course, when this did reach the United States, people were a little bit dubious about whether it was going to do well, because people were basically fed up of video games. And in all honesty, this is probably responsible for us still having computer games to this very day. If it weren't for this system, you might not have a PS5 under your TV right now. Now, Nintendo knew about this video game crash, and when the NES was released in Japan, it went by another name. It was called the Famicom, but it was a top loader. It looked very different to this. So when Nintendo brought it over to the US, they needed to market it differently and introduce it as an entertainment system rather than a gaming console. They wanted to market it a little bit like a VHS player, and that is why you insert the games at the front rather than insert them straight down onto the top. Now, this was a very unique style for a video game console, but remember, Nintendo didn't want it known as a video game console, so these were called the Nintendo Entertainment Systems, and they came in various different packages, and of course it became one of the best video game consoles of all time. And I'm pretty sure that Nintendo wanted to market it as a toy rather than a video game console, and I think it worked, because to this very day, even though I know it is a video game console, I still kind of think of it in my head as a toy, because I felt like I was buying the best toy in the world. Of course, the Nintendo Entertainment System went on to sell like hotcakes, and it became one of the most recognisable, most popular video game consoles of all time. So on today's video, I thought we'd just bring the camera a bit closer and take a closer look at the console and the cartridges and the gun and the controller. And then when we've had a look at the console and all the accessories, we'll set up a little TV screen here and we'll see what kind of memories come flooding back when we turn this baby on. Now, like I said, there is nothing more iconic than this console. It really is visually iconic. The colours, the design. If you're my age, you will know exactly what I mean. If you're a video game, I don't know, historian, and you're a little bit younger than me, you would probably still know what I mean. There is nothing that screams nostalgia more than this console. Now, like I said, it was designed to look like a VHS player, and that is exactly what they've gone for here with the front-loading tray at the front, and just inside there are a row of pins what actually catch onto the game when you put the game in, and over time it's renowned for these pins to become loose. This console actually suffers from that a little bit. And I remember a lot of people thought that blowing in the cartridges was a way to fix this. I was one of those, granted. But in fact, we found out since that didn't actually do anything. It was just by chance that the cartridge started to work, and blowing in them was actually doing them more damage. But still to this day, I must admit, I do still blow in the cartridge now and again when I can't get it to work. It's like a habit that I just can't kick. Here we have the controller ports here, controller 1, controller 2, and we also have the power button and the reset button. There was no way to save your game on these computers. There was no save function. There may have been on certain cartridges that came later, but for the majority of the games there was no save function, and you had to try and find passwords or cheat codes, or maybe like in Mario 1 I remember there was a warp zone you could go to, so you could skip a few levels and go on to the later levels. So there were ways around it, but it was very frustrating sometimes to die at a game over and over again and have to go back to the beginning. As we have a look at the top of the console here, you can see that it's got these air vents, and then around the back we have the RF cable jack and the AC adapter. Now this was the way I used it when I was a kid. I used to plug it into the aerial. I wish I'd have known then what I know now. These connectors here are actually better. You get a better picture and sound quality coming from these, but as a kid I didn't realise this, and I just used the cable that was included with the set, the aerial cable. I remember it used to be a bit of a pain to kind of try and tune it into the old CRT TVs, but this is the way to go now if you get one. Most TVs still have these jacks. I know most of my sets in my house don't have them, but I was lucky enough to still have an old TV in the attic that does have these connectors. And as we have a look at the bottom of the console here, this is quite interesting, and it's something I never really noticed as a kid. This little compartment here moves away, and if you were to break this plastic, which I don't want to do, I want to keep it intact, I'll put a picture on the screen so you can see that underneath this little piece of plastic here is a slot for something. A lot of people think it was for another piece of hardware that Nintendo were intending to release, and they just never got around to it. Obviously that is what it was for. It was for something like that. There was a rumour going around for the longest time that this slot actually could play your Master System games, your Sega Master System games. This is completely nonsense. The games just didn't fit in there to begin with, and it was just a little bit of urban myth, I guess. It was never intended for that. It was more likely to be intended for a floppy disk drive that was released in Japan that never came out in the US or the UK. That is more likely what it is, but when it comes down to it, no one actually knows what it was intended for. It's just speculation. But whatever it was intended for, these grooves in the console here were created to thread the wires through, I suppose, so you didn't have a lot of messy wires underneath your console. In a way, I guess this is one of the earlier examples of future-proofing your hardware. This really was an interesting thing to look up, and as a kid I never really noticed it. It's amazing, isn't it, as a kid, how much you don't actually take note of. You just want to play the games. So that's the console. Let's move that back there. And we'll take a look at the NES controller. Now, like I said before, this console is truly iconic, but if there's one thing that is just as iconic as this console, it's this controller. This is probably, and I think I'm right saying this, one of the first ever gamepads produced. If it's not the first one, it was one of the first ones. It is quite revolutionary looking at this, and like I said, it just brings back so much nostalgia. Now, I have heard that people have a love-hate relationship with this. They say it's a great little controller, but they complain that the edges would kind of hurt your hands when you were playing with it. I never had this, and to this day, you know, I can put this against the PS3, PS4, PS5, Xbox controllers, the Nintendo 64 controller, any of those controllers, and I just think this one is probably better in some ways because of its simplicity. Now, obviously, I know technically the other controllers are obviously better, but there is something truly special about this controller. And like I said, it's just iconic, isn't it? You've got the Nintendo brand there, you've got A button, B button, left, right, up, down, start and select, and that is all you needed. That was it. There was no fancy buttons on the top, buttons underneath. There was no motion sensors. This was it. This is all you needed, and it was absolutely fantastic. And now we have the Nintendo Zapper, and I absolutely love this light gun. And I'm going to say it again, I think it is probably one of the best light guns ever released. And take that from someone who absolutely loved Time Crisis on the PS1 and Time Crisis on the PS2. I love those games, but nothing compares to the nostalgia and the feeling of having this one. It's just so satisfying to hear that click, to shoot it. The way you hold it in your hand is just perfect. It's designed perfectly. I know it sounds stupid. It's designed perfectly to be in your hand. It's just so comfortable. It's lightweight. It's not too heavy, and yeah, it's just perfect in every single way. And I remember having a few games that I could use this gun on. I had Ogun's Alley, Wild Gunman, and of course Duck Hunt. Now, Duck Hunt for me is probably one of the best shooting games I have ever played. I absolutely love that game. Now, here is a word of warning if you are planning to pick up a Nintendo Entertainment System with a Zapper with the intention of playing Duck Hunt. It will not work on the modern TVs, it won't work on the LCD televisions, the HD TVs. If you want to play Duck Hunt, you will have to go out and buy yourself a old-fashioned CRT television set. You know, the kind, the big, fat TV sets that we all had in the 90s. That is the only way you can play Duck Hunt. That is the only way that this gun will work. And I'll show you that a little bit later when we plug it into a TV and I will attempt to shoot some ducks. And then we have the very iconic video game cartridges. The only two I have in my collection at the moment is the Mario Brothers 1 game, Duck Hunt, and Golf. I wouldn't have normally gone for this one, and I would have stayed really clear from it as a kid because it weren't my kind of game. But this one I had from the very beginning, because this came with the actual set that you purchased at the time. And the set that I purchased from Toys R Us was the set that came with the Zapper, 2 controllers, and this game. Like I said before, you got Duck Hunt in it. It also had a second game on there where you could shoot at clay pigeons. I didn't enjoy that one as much as the ducks, but it was still enjoyable. And then we have the Super Mario Brothers game. Now, I know that Mario did appear in another game before this. He appeared in Donkey Kong as Jumpman. But for me, this is the first appearance of Mario, in my opinion, even though it wasn't. This is the first time he appeared in his own game, and just think of how many other Mario games we've had throughout the years. In fact, I think one of the best Mario games ever released, and some people might disagree with me on this, is Super Mario Bros. 3, which was for this system. And I'm going to have to pick that up at some point because that game is just amazing to this day. And that's the beauty of this console. Although, even though the games are clearly old now and they are retro, they are still very, very much playable and enjoyable. It hasn't lost that element. The games are still fun, they're still enjoyable, they're still eye-catching, and they're attractive. And they are just loads of fun, they really are. And you know, if you had this as a kid and you haven't seen it for a while, you'll remember how fun it was when we load this game up in a moment, because it just brings back all of those really good memories, and you kind of have muscle memory for the game as well. You remember where you need to jump. You remember where the secrets are in the bricks. It's just that good. It really is. And then, of course, like I said before, if we ever couldn't get the games to work, we had this obsession with blowing into the cartridge, into the pins here, to get it to work. And like I said, it wasn't the best of ideas, but it is also something that I cannot help myself from doing. I still do this to this very day. If the game doesn't load correctly, I can't help but blowing it, even though I know it's not really doing any good. Although I will say this, it does tend to work. But apparently, it's just chance. It's just working out of pure chance, and the blowing isn't actually doing anything. You are actually damaging your discs by blowing into them. But I still do it. Okay, let's set this baby up. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see if this comes on the first time. So like I said before, you push it in, press it down, and then you hit the power button. This is the issue that you have with the NES console, but there is a way of getting this to work. Unfortunately, it's just turning it on and off again and taking the cartridge out and then back in. See, this is another issue we have. It has started, but it is, you know, it's not right. So we have to continue taking it out and in again. Moment of truth. You know what? Old habits die hard. Here we go. You see what I mean? I know that some people say that blowing in the cartridges doesn't do a thing, but I just tried that over and over and over again and it wasn't working. And then I blew on it and the first time I put it in it works. I think there might be something in blowing in it, but don't blow in it because apparently there isn't. You know, it will damage your games, but it is strange, isn't it, how every time I blow on the disc it tends to work. Anyway, let's play some Mario. Okay, so I've muted the music because I don't want YouTube to flag my video. So we're going to be playing this on mute, but it's almost as though you can actually hear the Mario music because this, to me at least, this game is just so well known and most of the gameplay is just down to muscle memory. Like, I knew where that mushroom was. You kind of remember where the correct pipes are as well for going down. I said that too early, didn't I? Because it's not that one. It's this one. You go down there and you're in the underground level here, and when you come out you should be close to the end of the level. And you go up the steps to the flagpole, if I remember rightly. Let's see. Yeah, it's just so much fun, and you can tell the game is dated, you know, it looks retro, but there's just something about it which is so enjoyable. Still to this day, I'm still getting the same kind of enjoyment I got out of this game when I was a kid. And sometimes you get fireworks. I'm not sure what the requirements are, but obviously I didn't get any fireworks on this time round. And then we go into the underground, and like I said, you can almost hear the music. Bum 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 bum, dum 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 dum, bum 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 bum. You know, it's just playing in my mind even though the music isn't on. Now, on this mission there is actually a warp zone you can get to by running up the top here and running along to the warp zone. And although you are technically taking some of the fun out of the game, because obviously you're skipping most of the game by running up there, as a kid I absolutely loved doing this. Because, I don't know, you're cheating, aren't you? But it was exciting as a kid because you thought you found something really secret. There we go, we're up. And we're just running along and just avoiding all those enemies down below. And there was just something dead exciting about doing this as a kid. And I must admit, it's still exciting doing it as an adult. There we go, all the way across. And we go straight to Warp Zone 4. I don't think I've ever gone in Warp Zone 3 or 2. I think I've always gone to Warp Zone 4. And then we should have that annoying turtle thing, what's in the cloud, throwing spiky objects at you. There he is. Let's see if I can kill him. Oh no! I'll not be killing him now. Let's just run. There we go. Come on, come on, come on. Whee! Is there a mushroom in these? I can't remember. I think this is where the muscle memory ends for me. Ah, that was close. Can't go down that. Yeah. Come on, come on. Yes, here we go. Yes, that's what I needed. Let's see if I can kill this guy now. If he comes back. There he is. Yeah, bye. See you later. Ah, what's this? finding it hard to comment on the video at the same time as playing because I'm just getting engrossed in the game. Oh no! Oh, it had to happen sooner or later. Let's see if I can master that. Wait, there we go, all the way across there. Now let's show them who's boss. Here we go. Let's cheat again. Straight to the warp zone. Nah, can't get me, can't get me. Here we go. Straight to the warp zone again. Warp zone 5. World 5 already. I always used to run into the enemies just as the power wore off and then kill myself, so I decided to... Whoa, what up? Used to call those an Eki Man where I came from. I don't know whether anyone can relate to that, an Eki Man. Can you go down this one? I can't remember. Yes, you can. I have to keep an eye on the time. Obviously with the music on, if you're running out of time it goes and then you've got to try and get to the end of the mission as fast as you can, the end of the level. I think I'm there. Oh no! Oh no! 800. Do I get any fireworks this time? I can't remember the requirements to get fireworks, so if you can remember, just leave a comment and let me know. Well, nearly got me then, I nearly jumped into it. Ah, the springy board. I forgot about all these things. I think my muscle memory, like I was mentioning before, I think it only lasts up until the second mission. Then I've kind of forgotten most of it. Although it's all coming back to me as I play it. Boing! Surely I can jump higher. Oh no! Oh! Here's a little trampoline thing. Whee! Oh! I didn't jump very far then, did I? Oh! Let's try that again. Oh! Why can't I do it? Let's try it again. I can't do it. Ah. I must have been doing something wrong on that little springboard. Oh, this guy, I hate this guy. I hate these guys. Let's see if I can survive this. No! I got him, but I died. Okay, I think on that note, we will try Duck Hunt. So, to try Duck Hunt, you simply press reset and it'll take you back to the title screen here. Okay, so I've plugged the gun in and we select Duck Hunt. And then, I remember originally you could point the gun up and it would select which game you wanted to play. And then you would simply point the gun at the screen and it would start the game. But obviously, because this is a newer TV, it's not one of the old-fashioned TVs, that's not going to work. So we can press the button and it should start the game. Now, we're not going to be able to shoot any ducks either. Basically, you can't use it. It's not going to work. But we can try and put our imagination into it. There you go, I would have got him. He would be dead. If you don't shoot him, eventually he will just fly away. And then the dog laughs at you. And like every kid in the 80s did, you just try and shoot that dog, but he never dies. But there's something so satisfying about pulling that trigger and hearing that blast on the screen. And you only get 3 bullets and then you're done. That dog must have been shot by so many kids, and you know, you never actually get him. Let's have a go at the clay pigeon one. So we go down, clay shooting. And it's similar to the ducks, but you shoot the clay pigeons. I remember this one being a little bit harder when I was a kid. But obviously I always just reverted back to the ducks. This one was a little bit boring for me. There you have it, that's the Nintendo Entertainment System. I hope you enjoyed today's video looking back. I know it's something a little bit different to what we normally do on here, but because I purchased this recently, I just really wanted to show it off. I think I will be picking up some extra games for this. I really want to get Mario 3 because that was one of my all-time favourite computer games. I think to this day it is probably, in my opinion, the best computer game ever released. But what was your favourite computer game for this system? Let me know in the comment section, and until next time, I'll see you very soon. Take care.